Dr. Olson, welcome back to Zen One Podcast.
Thank you, Tiger. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think this is our take 2 or 3 together.
Yeah, podcast wise too. Our second one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is our second. That's awesome. I love having you back. You have a really cool perspective on things, and not only you're an educator and you're sharing your knowledge with other people, but you're actually practicing and you're testing things. And I like how you say that your treatment room or your practice better is your playground where you can test things and see how they actually work. So I'm really curious, what has been something that you lately tested or brought in as a new tech into your practice?
Apologize, Tiger. It broke out there. What was the question?
Sure. So I was just wondering, maybe some technical stuff, but I was just wondering lately with your dental practice,
hmm
what is something that you brought
hmm
in as a tech to play around with and see if it's going to bring benefit to your practice?
Yeah. So I bought a 3D printer, and I'm currently trying to. I bought it, and it's not a dental specific. It's actually made usually mostly for jewelry, but it's an 8K resin printer. And so the issue I'm finding right now is just calibration because it's not specific for dental resins, and so I'm having to modify the layering distance and a bunch of things. So, but that's what I'm hoping to get into digital dentures a little bit, maybe even for some all-in-4, all-in-6 applications, as well as prints and night guards. I don't think I'm quite ready for doing clear aligner therapy through printing myself, but maybe down the road.
Got it. Have you looked into AI lately? Like, have you played with any of the tools AI related?
Totally, yeah. So I ChatGTP, I've messed around with Dante AI, which is a really good one. Um, I've messed around, took a demo with Jet Dental. Our EHR in our office is Denticon, and they integrate with, I think it is with Jet Dental. So, but yeah, I've played around a little bit with that. Yeah, it's amazing. I feel like in the last 2 years, even a year and a half, it's just blown up. AI is, I mean, it's at everybody's fingertips. Whereas before, I felt like you had to know somebody or you had to have an in with a specific team for software to be able to utilize the tools.
Yeah, when you say jet, just to make sure, is it overjet or
Overjet, yeah, sorry. Yep.
yeah, overjet? Okay, cool. I got it. So what's your take on it? Because like to me, that's a slightly different application of AI where it's more like radiology reading the x-rays versus the speech or the language models and stuff like that. So I'm really curious what you think about it.
I think it's a great tool. There's pros and cons. I think for new dentists, it's great kind of crutch to be able to identify things. It's also great in terms of, monitoring bone loss, monitoring um, incipient lesions and different things like that. You can track it over time, and it's something that the AI can kind of point out and say, hey, make sure you're looking at this, make sure you're looking at this, which is great for a new dentist. I feel like if you've seen thousands and thousands of X-rays, your eyes are pretty trained and you can spot things pretty quickly. So I don't know that it's as good of a resource for someone who's been in the industry for a while, but it's definitely a good crutch. One downside that I'm seeing with it is that my understanding is that there are a couple insurance companies that have tapped into it, and I don't know the potential implications for insurance companies having something like that. I don't know if they can reject treatment more quickly and be able to have the computer kind of diagnose the necessity for whatever treatment re-rendered, and then just be able to deny a claim and move on with it. And it's all automated for them. And then it just creates extra work for us to have to fight creating narratives and trying to fight like having to resubmit claims and do all these things. So that's kind of my fear with insurance companies. But yeah, but I envision one day where, you go into an office and it'll be like a little satellite office with, a team of hygienists, and you'll go in, you'll do an intraoral scan, which will not only be hard tissue but soft tissue, and so it'll be full color, high resolution for soft tissue, hard tissue, and then You'll have a CBCT scan that's even more defined and to the point where you can identify the size of decay and specific pockets and bone loss. And then that will all be transmitted digitally to a dentist who's, sitting at home or sitting somewhere and can do the exams, with a guided AI system in a matter of, a minute. And then they can just do all their exams, in 2 hours. And then the patients just come and get their teeth cleaned. And then if they need treatments, then later that day, their treatment plan will be emailed to them, and then they'll schedule for treatment somewhere. So I don't think we'll see as much of the whole jumping back and forth from hygiene to operative, from hygiene to operative. I think it'll be much more like a hygiene clinic and then the operative clinic. And yeah.
Interesting. So you made two very interesting points. One is insurance being involved in this, and two, removing sort of like a treatment plan coordinator position that you could potentially just use AI and email the treatment plan and get somebody's to accept the treatment plan, like not in person.
Yeah.
Let's stick with insurance. It seems kind of like where it is gonna go, knowing how insurance companies are.
Hmm.
Are you like concerned about it?
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I think when all is said and done, I mean, hopefully we'll still get things paid for in terms of claims. I don't think they're going to be hard set denial because once again, it's a computer. I don't think we're at the point yet where we rely 100% on computers for medical diagnosis. And I don't know how long that'll take to be able to rely on computers for medical diagnosis without, a clinician. But nonetheless, it's just going to make our work a little harder. The billing coordinators are going to have to, be resubmitting claims, and um, yeah, it'll be more challenging for sure.
Interesting. Um, what about the treatment plan? Like, I feel like when you said that, my first reaction was like sometimes it's even hard to sell dentistry the way it is to patients, and it like even with a human.
Yeah.
Do you think we're gonna have a higher acceptance rate if it's emailed to them?
I think in person's always the best. It's always the strongest. But I feel like there's a point at which convenience trumps, having someone tell you in person. I think people want in and out. If they can do a 30-minute cleaning and it be just as efficient as a 60, I think in busy cities, like that's hands down better. Like they would rather just get in and out. You even see the extreme on the other side, Jet Dental, that's going to the businesses and setting up shop at the business site and doing profies and small fillings and things at the company. And I think that's the ultimate convenience. I mean, that's what most of them would want is they'd rather just leave their office, go downstairs to the cafeteria, have their cleaning, and then go back to work.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that model is for everywhere and everyone. But I think 30-minute cleanings would be better for them. They would like that. So a lot of them wait for the dentist, or they have to. There's a lot of anxiety too with the dentist because you're kind of waiting. They're kind of anticipating. Okay, do I have a cavity? Do I have a couple cavities? What's going on? And so there's a little bit of anxiety when the dentist comes in, and they're wondering, oh gosh, what kind of news am I going to get? Whereas if they can just get cleaning, go home, and then just get it in the mail and open it up and be like, oh gosh, yeah, there it is, and then have a video that shows them where it is, where's the decay, how deep it is, what are the treatment options. They can kind of go on there and be like, okay, this treatment option, this is the estimated longevity of this treatment, this is the cost of this treatment. They can kind of select what they want. And then maybe even have a dentist at the end of the day goes through all that and then drops in a little liner. Hey, I saw you chose this. I'd really strongly recommend this, but ultimately it's your decision. And then they can have a little video for them to watch. But it's
Yeah.
interesting, Tiger. When I was at VCU dental school in 2000, I think it was 2012 when I came up had this idea. So we were a second year dental student and we were creating these big treatment plans, right? We had a treatment planning course that we took, and we were taking images, intraoral photos, and we were taking panoramics and full mouth series X-rays and all these things, and we were compiling a PowerPoint where we would create a treatment plan for a patient on a PowerPoint, and then we'd present it to the class or present it to a treatment planning group. And I had this idea. I'm like, what if there was a software that could take all the images, pull them in, you can highlight and document over top of the images, and then create a video that you then send to the patient. It gives them a whole presentation after the exam. After you had them in the chair and they went home, you would send it to them afterwards. And so I got together, where I brought this idea with one of the professors, and she liked it. And so we actually created a patent, and we hired a team of engineers at VCU, the School of Engineering, and we started to develop some software that could do something like this. And this, by the time we got the patent started, we had the grant for the engineers. I was already a senior, and so I was kind of busy with residencies and things like that, and so I didn't see it to the end. Unfortunately, I saw it to some of the development stage, but I didn't get to see it through. And so then I left, and after that, I was just too busy to keep tracking the software. So but I think that idea of being able to pull these images together and even have AI that goes through and kind of guides a plan, and then says, hey, we think there's a cavity here. If there is, these are the surfaces that seem to be involved. This is what the procedure would be. And then you as a practitioner can be like, yep, 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 click, 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 yep. And then you just package it and this goes to the patient. I could
Yeah.
foresee something
Yeah.
like that for sure.
Yeah. I think it's also, if we just brainstorm, right? Like the idea of clicking is also going away. You would be able to talk to the interface,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So it's so
Gotcha.
interesting. And then if you there's so many tools that available in everything that you describe, but like in different sectors or even different industries. But if you put it all together, like I think that's the challenge of like just consolidating all of it for dentistry and try to see, like, you've seen all these models that you just say paint, give me a picture of a man walking in Tokyo in the rainy day, right? And it's just boom, it renders the whole video for you, right? So these things are incredible. And then if you have the data, if you need to present it to the patient, I mean, if you have the X-rays, if you have the images, man, boy, like that could be cool. Like, and with not much involvement, right? So like the whole treatment plan can be packaged together pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Did I lose you?
Sorry, it's cutting out on your end.
Yeah, it's lagging a
There
little
you
bit,
go.
but I think you're back now.
Yeah, no, it's
So
crazy. It'll be incredible. I mean, what a great resource to teach patients about their oral health, right? What a
yeah,
fantastic resource.
yeah. What have you played with anything else related to like doctor's notes or anything like that related to AI?
No, it's Otter AI I've played around with. I've played around with what else is there? Yeah, with Dental or Dot AI, ChatGPT, and Otter AI are the ones that I predominantly use. But um, yeah, great resources for sure. They make it really easy to be able to peruse data or process data.
Yeah, that's interesting. So again, we have such a gap, I think, when it comes to practice management software and all the other tools available. You said you mentioned you use Denticon, right?
Uh-huh.
And I think most of the people that we would consider like early adopters or innovators, they're all using Open Dental. Like, if I'm
Hmm.
not mistaken, that's a dominant solution for a lot of dental practices in the country. So, what do you think would take for people like that to switch from Open Dental to a new practice management software that could potentially uh, incorporate all these tools into one solution?
Yes. Switching medical, electronic health record systems is I've done it. I went from Dentrix to Denticon, and it's a tough transition. You, I've not found like one clear transition where you're not going to lose some data and lose some information in the process. And so, and just onboarding your team and training your team and getting them used to, the flow, it's really hard. It would really have to, I feel like you have to really offer quite a bit to make that transition in terms of what they can collect. One thing that I found that's frustrating, I'm a big data guy. I like key performance indicators, tracking numbers. Business is my passion. If you were to say, have I specialized in dentistry, it'd be business. I got an MBA up at the U, and I love the business side. And it's one thing, I swear every EHR on the market is centered, I mean, as it should be, it's centered around clinical notes, clinical documentation, billing. But they all, in my opinion, really are not super efficient and not very thorough when it comes to processing data to be able to monitor like key performance indicators or pull reports. Dental Intel's done a pretty good job of trying to extract data from a lot of these EHR companies, but even I feel like there's certain reports that even Dental Intel can't pull out. And to my knowledge, they don't integrate a lot of times with the financial software either. And so I would love to see a system like an EHR that was built and centered around reports. Like you build it
Yeah.
from the ground up about extracting data, because honestly, like you want to be able to track data, and with AI, in our midst, like you want some guidance. If you want some computer to start telling, business owners, like, hey, have you been tracking, the amount of topical flora that you've been presenting, or have you like, do you want them to be able to start saying like, hey, here's some areas I feel like you can improve your systems in your business. Your turnover rate, your churn rates, is increasing. You're seeing less repeat patients. And so it would be nice to have software that kind of like guided the business side of dentistry, but I have yet to come by an EHR that
Yeah.
really does that.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's called practice management software, but I like in
Like in
dentistry, but I always say it's a patient management software. I don't think it's a practice management software,
dentistry. Yeah,
right? Because like there's very little about managing the practice.
totally. Yeah, yeah.
And your practice
Which
is your practice.
primarily, yeah, I mean, primary responsibility, I still feel like is the patient's health and the patient's care. So I get
Right.
it. Like I get that they come first, and that should run smoothly, and documentation should run smoothly. But they totally drop the ball when it comes to the business. And unfortunately, businesses can drown. Like you can have excellent patient care, and you do, terrific dentistry. And if you can't run the business, you don't have a business, and it'll crash sooner or later. And so I feel like there needs to be more reporting tools and more data processing and more of that practice management, like you said,
Yeah.
guidance.
Do you mind if we jump on a quick tangent here?
Yeah.
I've seen some offices lately relying on their team members to make business decisions. Like, why would that happen? Why would doctors do that?
Sorry, it broke out.
Yeah. So I'll repeat. I
Cut
don't
out.
know, like with
Yeah.
Wi-Fi. I was just trying
Yeah.
to say what. So recently, I came across a couple offices that
Mm-hmm.
the doctors are delegating to their team members to make business decisions,
Mm-hmm.
meaning like where we buy supplies, how the budget is going to work, how are we going to structure the purchasing. So, and instead of making a plan in the framework for the team members, they're delegating it to them, including the decision on the expenses and like savings and important things for the business where an employee may not even be able to get to that point. So I'm really curious, like, what do you think? Why would that happen? Why dentists are doing that sometimes?
Yeah, fatigue. Yeah, it's just fatigue. Decision fatigue. It's just stress. I mean, you've got a lot. I mean, providers, dentists have, I mean, they have a lot that they're weighing. They're trying to study up on procedures and grow their continuing education in their own trade. But at the same time, they're trying to communicate with specialists and try to make sure that there's continuity of care with your patients. And then on top of that, they're you know, doing all the mundane daily tasks of note taking and um, um, reviewing, certain charts and X-rays, and it's just a lot. There's a lot of work, especially if you're a business owner, because you've got multiple hats that you're wearing. And so I think by nature you just get fatigued, you get tired, and if you can pass a task off to someone else, like that's what you prefer. It's human nature. And so I think you try to rely on the team around you to start making some of the decisions, and it's a risk. I mean, you never know. You never know. Trusting them, and especially when it comes to like materials, composites, and bonds, and endo instruments, like all that stuff. Like I feel like there's a point at which most dentists are like, no, I've got to make those decisions. I'm not going to trust. like anyone to decide. But when it comes to like patient napkins and 2x2s and all the other supplies, I think they'd rather the team the team make a decision. You guys do a fantastic job with Zen One of just helping with that. I feel like making, especially with the new update, being able to have alternative choices and that might save some money and things like that. I feel like that helps, and I feel like they feel a little more confident using Zen One to be able to give more tasks to their team.
That makes sense. I wish we can do a course and get people signed up to talk about the delegation and how to create frameworks around
Mm-hmm.
things to delegate and stuff like that. But just, I don't know. Uh, it's hard to watch. Like when you see another doctor really struggling with that aspect, like I sometimes struggle. I don't know what my reaction should be or what my position should be. Should I email just like one-on-one and say, hey, I feel like I know where you're struggling and maybe you should talk to this person or that person. I can make an introduction and these are my red flags that I've seen and but sometimes you don't want to like what? I'm just building software for supplies, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
what's my role, right? So I do struggle with that, being honest with you.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. I mean, I've seen a lot of companies in the recent 2 years, 3 years that have consultant companies, and I'm not saying you guys are consultants, but there's been a lot of consultant companies that have built environments for their clients, forums and different resources for collaboration. You can bring the company, team and the users together to collaborate and help each other out. And I feel like there's a lot of consultants that have done that. The Dental Success Institute. There's a bunch that have kind of done that. So I mean, that might be an option as well. It's hard. I mean, if you start seeing flat red flags on your end for certain dentists, like it's a tricky one. But I think creating an environment where even users could collaborate together and talk together and point things out.
Yeah. So if we go back to AI, on your daily basis, is there anything that at the end of the day you drive home and you're like, why is no one doing this?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think systematizing is one of those. Like you just don't see. There's a lot of dentists that don't have business education, and I feel like um, we rely on our office manager to run everything for us. And I think it'd be, I think having a software that helps systematize would help a ton for those dentists that aren't as familiar with what they need to improve in the business aspect. Um, I'd love to see more insurance automation, honestly. Like I feel like I'll be excited the day that we come up with more automated software for bundling claims, submitting insurance, tracking it, sending out reminders to the insurance companies, following up on claims, but all being done automated. I know right now it seems like a lot of the third party companies that are doing insurance billing, they're outsourcing to the Philippines, they're outsourcing all over to keep the budget down. But I think there's still even a point where software could help automate a lot of that. Um, I think that'd be an exciting day to have a lot of the billing automated.
Yeah. I'm trying to find a video of our last podcast where you talked about not having an office manager.
Oh yeah, yeah. In
There
my
was a
office,
short,
I'm an office manager. We don't have like a office manager. We have a front office administrator that controls a lot of the front office responsibilities. But I'm most in control of the back office responsibilities and when it comes to hiring and firing and performance reviews and all of that stuff, that's what I do. Um, but that'd be interesting as well to see if there ever is a day where there's a software and AI that can kind of, I don't want to say you can replace an office manager because they really are crucial to have, especially going back to your point in the beginning. And in person seems to be always a little more efficient, at least in terms of expressing emotions and having a deeper connection. Always more efficient than over the computer. But I wonder if there will be a day where some of that work is automated. And I know there's a new position right now that I've been seeing more and more companies take on. It's called a fractional CFO. Have you heard of a fractional
Yeah.
CFO?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
they're not a full-time CFO for a company, but they're part-time basically. So it's like one day a week. I think I've seen a company that does dental CFO, fractional CFO work, so that you pay them a day a month or whatever, and then you send them all the reports and everything they go through, and they kind of give you what a CFO would do for your company. It'd be interesting to see if there was almost like a fractional office manager that would come in a day a week and be able to digest everything, cruise the data, see how things are going, meet with the team, have a meeting, do all that stuff, and they would be an office manager for other companies as well. You'd have them leased, so to speak, for a day a week, 3 or 4 days, 5 days a month.
Yeah. I actually think that's a really cool idea because not only you're bringing value of getting things done, but you're also bringing a perspective of how other offices in your area would be, like how they're doing.
For sure.
So like
Yeah.
imagine office managers that supports like 20 offices within your area. I don't think there's a conflict of interest, right? Like as far as like them knowing something that you do or you don't do, but
Mhm.
then bringing the perspective and saying, look, like that's how marketing works in this area. This is how maybe in the marketing this could be a conflict of interest. Like you don't want them to share what you like. I don't know. I
Mhm.
think it's interesting. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I mean, you could almost create a whole team that way. It'd be awesome to have a buy-in group, almost like how they have the purchasing groups.
Yeah,
You can subscribe or pay for it to be a part of a big buyer purchasing group. It'd be interesting to have a group that you buy into that has multiple positions floating. Even a dental assistant, a hygienist, and so if you have someone sick, you can just tap in and be like, hey, I need that. I need a dental assistant. I need my office manager, one more extra day this month. And it's almost like a pool that dentists could have.
yeah,
And collectively, they pay for, really good wage for someone really good. But they have access to different positions to help out in the office.
yeah. So this is maybe not a technical, but I'll come back and I'll connect the two dots at the end. What are your thoughts
Mhm.
about temp agencies and the value for the temp agent pluses, minuses? Can you share?
They're expensive, I mean, compared to like Facebook groups and other resources that we're finding. They're just temp agencies are expensive, and I get it why they are. I mean, they're W-2ing everybody, so they're paying the 7.6% extra employment tax. Um, there's a lot of things that they have to do to be able to facilitate marketing and reaching the dentist and making sure that the team, those not volunteering, but are hired to do the temp work, that make sure that they have work to do. And so it's a tough job, tough gig, but it is expensive. It's by far more expensive than finding someone word of mouth, or finding someone off one of these Facebook groups. But they're a good rate. I'm glad we have them because I've used them. I haven't used a temp agency in probably 6 or 7 years, because I predominantly have used word of mouth to find replacements and temps. But there's a place for them, I think.
Yeah, so you even use Facebook groups to find temps. Like if your dental assistant is sick and you need somebody just for one day next week, Wednesday. So you
Mhm.
would just go to Facebook first?
Yeah, yeah, Utah Dental Networking.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
besides the cost, was there anything else that you thought that maybe not a good model?
No, in terms of not a good model, I mean, I think they protect themselves by having the whole finder's fee. So if you end up keeping one of the temps, you're supposed to pay the $2,500 or $3,500 finder's fee. I mean, I don't like that, but in terms of for their business protection, I think that's a great implementation, a great protocol to have. But that's one thing I don't like is just that if it does work out, you got to pay the
Yeah. Well,
$3,500 fine.
we
But granted, if you keep someone long term, that's probably
yeah,
worth it, right?
exactly. Because I think in our industry, it's 20% off of their annual salary.
Yeah.
So if somebody
Yeah, the
finds
finder's
like
fee
a
for
finding
sure.
fee or something, I think it gets sometimes out of control. Um,
Yeah.
so with temp agencies, I've heard some ideas floating around if your temp agency is now a marketplace, like Cloud Dentistry or something like that, and that taps into your ERP system, and it reads the schedule, and it could potentially say, Dr. Olson, it seems like next Wednesday you're short based on staff availability on your schedule. These are 3 candidates we have for you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that would work. I feel like that would work well. We don't have our assistants on the schedule at all, and I don't know if that's just our EHR or if that's other ones, but Denticon doesn't have a spot to put assistants, so that the system wouldn't know per se dental assistants, but they would know hygiene in terms of their schedule. But yeah, that'd be interesting. Also, I mean, I think even potentially being able to read how busy the office is, how far booked out they are, and maybe even offering suggestions of, hey, open another day. This seems to be a day that you have less emergency visits, or this is a day that you tend to have, less heavy operative or restorative schedule. Like, have you considered adding an extra hygiene column, and then providing resources for that to find a hygienist? I mean, I think that would be a great asset for sure.
Yeah. What's your take on just overall, like the people moving to this new environment where instead of working full time for an office, they go to work at the temp agency?
Yeah, tons,
Because I've heard
tons. There's so
some
many.
yeah. What are your thoughts?
I mean, to me, it just seems like super convenience, right, for them. It's like you get paid an extra $5 an hour, um, and you come in and work, and it's hard. I mean, it's hard going into a new office. Like, I mean, it's not easy. It's why, and there's two reasons why we pay more. One is because it is a challenging job, coming in and learning new instruments and new patients, new EHRs, new everything. Um, but also, like when you're in a pinch, like people are willing to pay more. Either I lose scratch the whole day, or I find someone. And so, we pay more for that convenience to have them. But I do see, especially in Utah, I feel like for hygienists, we're seeing a lot more that are moving to the temp phase than are just looking for a full-time job,
Interesting. Why do you
for
think
sure.
so?
And it's the pay. Yeah, it's the pay, and it's not the headache of having to, commit long term. If you don't like the office, guess what? You can pick another office next week. But yeah, but I think more than anything, I think it's the pay. I think they get paid more.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to affect the dentistry long term?
I think the pendulum will swing back. I think I think what you're going to see is people will start posting, this is how much I make as a hygienist, and they might not disclose that I'm a temp hygienist, but this is how much I make, and so people start to see, wow, this hygienist gets paid $50 an hour. Like, they have a bachelor's degree and they get 50. I mean, the state of Utah, the average bachelor degree earns you about between 28 and $32 an hour. And with a hygiene bachelor degree, you can make 45, 50, 55. And so I think you'll start seeing more people apply. Pretty soon schools will be like, we're going to increase admissions, or you'll see new hygiene programs pop up. You'll start producing more hygienists. And then eventually that turns, and there's a huge influx of excess hygienists. The supply is huge, and so the demand's low. And so pretty soon, to even find a temp job, they're going to have to start taking less money. Or to find a full-time job, they're going to have to start accepting low money. And so the pendulum will swing back, and then they'll be comfortable again, and then we'll have COVID again, where there's just such
Yeah.
turnover and stuff,
Yeah.
and then there's a shortage of hygienists,
Yeah.
and then you're going back to paying more money for hygienists, and it seems to go back and forth always. So I'm not fearful that it's going to change permanently. I think it'll swing back, but I think we just did. I think there is an increase in salaries that's not going to get changed. I don't think the industry tends to go back and pay less as much. So I think there's always a little bit of and it's the same thing with inflation. There's always a gradual climb. So,
Yeah.
but it is squeezing, small businesses, small dental offices, right? As those wages increase and you start producing, you're paying, 35% of your, revenue towards payroll, like it just starts squeezing your profits. And so you got to think more creatively how to increase revenue.
Right. Right. And again, hopefully the AI tools are helping you to hire less people potentially in the future, especially the front, treatment plan coordinators, things like that. Again, nothing wrong with people just generalizing that that's a trend, right? And that could potentially help. I don't think you can really replace the clinical side of things, right? But you can make clinical side more efficient with
Mm-hmm.
doctor's notes and patient's notes and things like that. So, any, um, I was thinking about speaking of the patient notes or the doctor's notes. Have you played with Bola AI? I think it's called Bola. Let me look it
You,
up.
I've heard of it. I have not played with it. I think had they're in medicine, right? Is Bola in medicine? Did they start in medicine and
Yeah,
not dentistry? Because I think I have a colleague. He's a physician in Salt Lake. I think he does. I feel like he might use Bola.
yeah. Voice AI for period charting. That's one of them.
Bola AI. Yeah, I mean, I think that'd be fantastic to be able to have, to be able to conduct, an exam, and you talk to the patient as you're finding things, and to have it all put into a note would be awesome. I don't know how that works with HIPAA, and I'm sure you'd want it to be able to clean up other things that you talk about. Because I know with me in my office, I try to have good relationships with the patients, and sometimes we're talking about things other than health, about their kids' concert coming up or about a trip to,
Right. Yeah.
Fiji or something like that. And so you'd want some stuff to be filtered or handled or sorted, and that's where AI, comes into play. But
Yeah.
pair charting for sure. It would just yeah. Once again, so you got to make sure that the accuracy is there because you'd hate for it to miss a number or to diagnose incorrectly.
Interesting. Um, have you thought about like just throwing a timeline into this conversation? Like, what do you think dentistry is going to be in 15 years?
Yeah, I think our diagnostics are going to be ramped up. I think we'll have such good diagnostics for being able to detect, you know, bone loss, even in terms of like biomes, like being able to sample, oral biomes and what kind of bacteria you have. Being able to, I think the oral systemic, connection is going to be huge. I think we'll be able to get more into diagnosing things before they happen, especially like diabetes and pre-diabetic, um, trying to catch some systemic illnesses even in the dental chair before it's manifested, um, to themselves. I think you'll see more of that. Um, yeah, I hope to have just more resources for diagnosing patients and also diagnosing businesses, like how they're doing, um, with the economy and yeah,
Yeah, hopefully have like the proper dashboards where the data is accurate and you can see
yeah,
for your practice, your specialty, your size, you get more custom reporting, like you being like like just literally the system understands all of the aspects of your business and giving the data related to your business, not some
yeah,
general, production collections and all that stuff. That's pretty standard for all the offices.
right, yeah. Customize is huge. I think that's a huge part of marketing and just a part of we're all getting used to customize everything, you to the news articles we read to, whatever comes into our inbox. Everything's starting to be customized. So that's a huge. I mean, people I think want to feel like someone or something knows them and understands them. And so, I've been on calls many a times with different consultants, and they'll say, "Tell me about yourself," and you'll speak for 5 minutes, and all of a sudden they know you. They know you and know your practice. They're like, "Well, I can tell you your problem. You need this, 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 and this, and this." And it seems to be the same things. You need more new patients. You need to diagnose more per patient. It's always kind of the same things, and it seems very rote. Like it just doesn't seem personalized or customized. And I think people in the future they want you to be able to adapt to them and their needs because every business is unique. Every business is different. Just the same way every patient's different. And you'll have certain patients that are super high risk of caries, but yet they're like brushing and flossing every day pretty religiously. And And so it takes a special kind of treatment plan for them compared with other people.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so interesting. When I think about the dentistry in 15 years, I'm like, I don't want anybody to think about supplies ever.
That's
Just
you. That's
like
your
it
problem to
shouldn't be a
solve, Tiger.
question. Yeah,
That's your
exactly. At
problem.
that
Wouldn't that
point, I
be
can
amazing?
retire. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be amazing for it to know. Kind of like how there's that Samsung. I think LG came out with the two, but Samsung has the camera on the inside of the fridge. And so at any time you can like pull it open and see what's in your fridge. I think I think that it'd be great one day when your inventory is all tracked like that, and it
Yeah.
doesn't take a lot of manpower. And they know how much bond you have left because it sits on a little scale, on the shelf, the counter where you store it, and so it knows how much weight's there, and so it knows how much is
Yeah.
left, and everything is all. Just packages come. Every day there's a new package, or every week there's a new package, and it's exactly what you need. You don't have to think about it. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of hospital systems have kind of moved towards that, don't you think, Tiger? I feel like a lot of hospital systems have moved to carts, electronic carts, where everything is measured, tracked, especially like pharmaceutical carts, 100%. Because not only are they checking inventory, but they're also keeping regulations on what's being dispensed and stuff. But I mean,
Yeah.
big companies can afford to do that. Small companies can't. But I'd love to see, Zen One get into the small office and create something where it can be a little more automated in terms of knowing the schedule and how busy they are, and historically looking at how much you've ordered and anticipating, hey, you're busier than you were 4 months ago and you're ordering at this rate. I suggest putting this in your cart and this in your cart, and yeah.
That'd be really cool. That's interesting because actually we have enough data for that already. It's being able to process, which we're already starting to process and see how that would affect the ordering. But just to have all aspects of like data and um, reinforced learning, basically what you said, like having the scales and stuff like that, I think that would be so incredible. Um, my only wish would have been if vendors would be a lot more for thinking about the future. Like our challenge is the vendors are stuck in the 90s and they're not even thinking about moving to the future. And we were all hoping that COVID is going to break that seal and that's it. Like no more reps or no more
Yeah.
this or no more that. And the pendulum swung right back into how it was before COVID. And I'm like,
Yeah.
go figure.
Yeah. Yeah. It did that in some aspects, didn't it? For sure. Sent us back a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Olson, anything else on that comes to your mind as far as the tech, like any ideas that you would want to share with people?
With tech, yeah, I mean, I think just connecting more. I think being less afraid. I think some dentists are really hesitant to share things, especially about business or finances or sometimes even their treatment plans. Like I would love to see much more collaboration. And I know there's HIPAA issues when it comes to like, sharing treatment plan cases and things like that. But I would love to see more collaboration, more automation and pulling data together, especially diagnostic data, and then being able to collaborate and show and work together with other dentists to say, hey, have you thought about trying, this different product or this different technique? And then likewise with the business saying, hey, I saw that, your retention rate's starting to lower. Here's something we do in our office. I would just love to see more collaboration, I think, between dentists when it comes to the business side as well as, treatment planning. I know there are study groups, but I feel like study groups are they were much more common, a decade ago. I don't know that they're as strong as they are. I think maybe some informal groups, like more forums you see, um, but I think like a cohort of people, of dentists that can, shoot ideas off each other, kind of in more of a formal setting. I don't think we're seeing as many. I'd love to see that in the future. More
What about the
collaboration.
study clubs, like Koi's or Spear, or they're getting too big?
Yeah, I think they're doing okay, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know their participant, rate and what they have, but I would dare say they're I don't know that they're growing at the rate of schools are pumping out dentists. I don't know. The last I heard, and when I would talk to a lot of the dental students up at the dental school, it seemed like organized dentistry and belonging to things just didn't seem as important to them. It seems like a lot of the younger dentists would rather Google something or look something up real quick, find an answer, and be done and move on. Um, and and maybe a little bit less of putting time into a group and creating treatment plan cases to share with each other. Um, I feel like we see a little less of that, and it's more like I need an answer. I want it now. Look for an answer quick, and then move on. I think younger dentists want more quality of life. They want to have vacations and trips. They want to have more days off and less involvement in dentistry on their after hours. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, dentistry allows that, right? So it's one of the unique parts about dentistry is, you can't take dentistry with you when the day's over, like it's over. I mean, you can do some stuff like planning or like anything like that, but yeah, that's the cool part.
The business side goes home with you, and there, depending on the size of your practice, there's always emergencies. Like this week, I got like 3 calls already, and it's Friday, from patients, just emergencies, broken teeth, and things like that. So it depends. You're right. It is a great profession in the sense that if you're an associate, it's nice. You just show up, 8 to 5, Monday through Thursday, and then go home, and you're kind of done, which is nice. That's the perk of being an associate.
Hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Dr. Olson, I want to thank you. This was kind of quick just to get through some of the stuff that was on top of my mind. I wanted to see what you think and share with people. Um,
Yeah.
I know that you're busy with a couple things yourself. So do you want to share the progress you've made with a tech company that you've been building and also on a consulting side of things?
Yeah. I'm still trying to. I feel like consulting is one of those things that anybody can say they're a consultant. You can have a specific knowledge or trade in something. You can say I'm a consultant. I'm trying to take it a little more seriously and get some formal education. I have, a master's in business administration, but that didn't teach me how to be a consultant. There weren't, they didn't. There was no class that I took on consulting. So I'm trying to get into consulting, but I'm trying to go with a little more formal and make sure I have good techniques and good resources and tools to be able to help. But that's one area I'm trying to go into. And then the software, the bot software that I developed that I'm using to help with some of these clients on running their businesses, both the systemization as well as KPIs and tracking numbers, and um, yeah, that's one area that I'm working on continually growing. I'm pretty busy in my practice right now. We're 4 days a week. I did have an associate, but he moved on to open a practice like an hour north. So I'm 4 days a week, and so that does. I know technically I have Fridays free, but I have business stuff that I do for my own practice a lot of times in the mornings on Fridays, and then I have a couple meetings, and so time's a little strapped. But I'm looking at getting another associate and hopefully opening another day so I can devote more time to the software and consulting. But
Hmm.
yeah, thank you for asking,
Yeah.
Tiger. Always working at it. I feel really good helping dentists, like being able to see improvement, to see kind of the light go on and click, and they're like, oh, I never thought about that, or I didn't know about that, and being able to see numbers change for them, and to feel a little alleviation from stress for the business side of dentistry. That's kind of my goal, is to help them feel a little less drowning and more being in control of their business.
Yeah. I feel like if they do it right, you have more control over business than clinical. It's the one thing that you can set it up as
Yeah,
systems and it can be a smooth sail if you do it right.
predictable. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
Yeah, for
stressful.
sure. Because you have a lot of control over it, and there's a lot of information you can sort through and have pretty good um, diagnoses on your own practice health. Whereas patients, sometimes it's a little harder because there's a lot you can't control. You can sit down there and explain oral hygiene and how to do it, but once they go home, it's kind of it's in their boat. Whereas business, a lot of times you can still continue to make decisions around the clock. Not that you want to, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right, Tiger.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Olson. Again, I appreciate your
Yeah, you
time,
betcha. It's always
and
good,
we'll do
Tiger.
take 3 soon.
Okay, sounds great. Sounds great,
Thank
Tiger.
you. Mhm.
You betcha. Thank you.